to do that.
Well, I'll give you an example.
You take $1 in taxes for $10 in cuts, you'll be thrown out of the party.
But here, see, this is just a matter of somebody's, quite frankly, Senator, with all due respect, ideological predilections. And by that I mean my idea of compromise for the Republicans would have been, hey, if you're going to expect the Democrats to cut social welfare, then the Republicans better be ready to cut the Pentagon and back off on some of these foreign adventurous wars. That would have been a compromise. If you cut your bill or your favorite pork programs, why, we'll cut the Pentagon. But we're not going to grow government. We're not going to raise taxes. But that's not your idea of compromise. Your idea of compromise must include some taxes. So you're just picking and choosing what your compromise is.
I'm glad to hear that you're willing to compromise. That's a step forward. Perhaps we can talk more sensibly.
But I'm not willing to raise taxes, Senator, because guess it's a newsflash. It's my principle. We're taxed enough.
$10 in cuts.
Yeah, that happened, I think, in 1990. It happened in 1983 with Reagan when he...
No, you're not right about that. This is a proposition they posted in New Hampshire this year.
No. I'm not talking about
the nominee would agree to it.
I'm not talking about the hypothetical, Senator. I'm talking about the last time the Republicans agreed for spending cuts with tax increases. What happened to the spending cuts and what happened to the tax increases?
Well, they just agreed to it on the budget recently, and there are automatic cuts which are going to come in. The cuts are in law, so you can have an arrangement which is enforceable.
Well, I'm in favor of that sequester. If indeed that's the only way to get the debt down, then let the sequester take effect, raise the debt ceiling, and the problem with the Republicans is, in the name of quote unquote the military, they're already trying to undo the sequester, and the Democrats would love to undo the sequester. But that's still, there are certain lines in the sand you draw, and that doesn't mean you're not willing to compromise. It simply means that, look, we're taxed enough. I'm taxed enough. I can give you my return I just finished if you like. I don't need to hear somebody tell me I ought to pay more.
I'm concerned about my return.
Well, I'm concerned about an individual's return because the nation revolves around individual rights, and that's what the whole experiment is supposed to be.
Well, listen, I've spent 30 years in the United States Senate, and when I came there, people were willing to cross the aisle and legislate in the public interest. And today that is not being done. There is intransigence and there is gridlock, and the extremes have taken over on both parties, and I think that's very bad for the country. That's why I wrote this book, Life Among the Candles. Pretty tough title, but I think that's what's happening. Vicious partisanship, and it's leading the...
Well, then why did you switch to become a Democrat then? Because you said they're just as extreme.
I did, because when I cast a vote for the stimulus, I was kicked out of the Republican Party. The Republican Party in 2009 is very different from the Republican Party when I was elected in 1980. I don't think Goldwater could win a Republican primary. After all, Goldwater respected gay rights.
All right, hold that thought. We'll continue as long as we can right here. Don't go away.
It's a Beetle Bumper Friday on the Jason Lewis Show.
I was alone, I took a ride, I didn't know what I would find there. Another road where maybe I could see another kind of...
A political career, a Tea Party uprising, and the end of governing as we know it. That's how Senator Arlen Specter sees it in his new book, Life Among the Cannibals. He cites the Washington gridlock and the inability to compromise. Now, are we talking about process here, or are we talking about issues here? Because every time...
Jason, I have one final comment. I gave you 10 minutes. You've been over every subject except for my book. I've listened to 2 rounds of your commercials. I think it's insulting.
Well, Senator, I hate to break it to you, Arlen, but this is not public radio, sir.
You are absolutely insulting.
Oh, good God. This is not public radio. I don't have a government grant. We got to pay the bills. They're called commercials. Capitalism.
Listen, I'm talking about somebody who's civilized. I told you the last time around I wasn't going to sit around and listen to your commercials, and I didn't want to hang up on you.
Well, then you better do NPR commercials.
I want to tell you that this is no way for anybody to run an interview. I'm as experienced as you are, if not more so.
Well, let me ask you something.
That's all I have to tell you, so goodbye.
Good Lord, Senator. No wonder you got beat. This is the most intolerant guest I've ever had on the program. How on earth does he only do NPR interviews? Is that the deal? I've never heard anything like it. Well, good luck with the book. I think you're going to need it. I wanted to get into some of the issues of the book. The senator's gone, ladies and gentlemen, in case you didn't hear that. But he didn't have any idea. He mentions Citizens United in the book. He mentions Obamacare in the book. He mentions the Defense of Marriage Act in the book. All of those were book topics. Granted, I'll give him the hate crimes wasn't necessarily a direct position in the book or subject matter in the book, but the rest of the stuff was, and he didn't want to talk about it. I'm not altogether certain what Senator Specter wanted to talk about, but you might have a talk with your PR agent as to what kind of programs you want to come on in the future. Radio shows without commercials. Yeah, it's called National Public Radio. You know, the grants you were voting for when you were a senator from Pennsylvania. Oh, my word. 1-855-885-3947. That's 1-855-88-LEWIS. I suppose nobody likes commercials, but I've rarely heard a guest on commercial radio complain. I've never had a guest in my life complain about commercial advertising on the program. You got to do it. You just got to do it. Oh, my God. Rick in Albertville on AM 1130. I guess you can comment.